One of the most popular and best-selling e-bikes is back for 2021 with some major updates.
All right, drop.
The new Pivot Shuttle has got 140 and 160 millimeters of travel. Today we're going to bring you guys along for an in-depth first look as we get to know the new and improved Pivot Shuttle. Pivot Shuttle was definitely kind of a groundbreaking e-bike when it was first released. It was one of the most expensive, caught a lot of attention. It was also the lightest e-bike, I think, or one of. It's kind of continued on in that tradition, just getting a little bit more capable. We had a lot of fun riding the old Shuttle. We thought there were some, soft points in there, but they took a lot of those notes and have applied it to this new Shuttle. And it's really neat to see that evolution grow in all of e-bikes as a whole, but specifically around this Shuttle. We've been working closely with Cocalis and the Pivot team to kind of get you guys this exclusive first look ahead of time and really have a solid understanding of this bike, its offerings, and how it performs out in the trails.
I've owned 3 Pivot bikes personally, and so for me to come onto this bike, 1, not riding an e-bike very often, 2, being a brand new bike to me, I was comfortable within 15 minutes of downhill, like super playful. I would say as a taller dude, I could use a little bit taller dropper post. So on some of these descents we've been filming, I've been dropping it. But for climbing, I am realizing that you don't have to have that like perfect stroke with the e-bike with that assistance you
get.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So you could go either way on that.
Obviously, as you can see, it's got the new Shimano EP8, which is going to be lighter, more powerful, bigger range. Pivot is selling this bike with the 726 watt-hour battery. It is easily removable with 2 bolts, and you can purchase all the way down to the 504 if your rides are typically shorter and you want an even lighter bike.
There's 3 bars left, and we've gone 15 miles and 4,200 feet, so very efficient.
The computer holds 2 profiles. Pivot ships the bike out with a tune and profile that they think are going to be the 2 best matches for, max boost all the time and something that's going to be kind of a good, range extender and power, maximizer. So what's really great is with the Shimano app, you can customize each of those settings on your phone and really quickly modify each of those 2 profiles or keep one of the stock profiles and make your own for mega epics or super fast race days where you just want to be at full power. So moving into the suspension, Pivot has redesigned the linkage, added a metric shock, and is now using their Switchblade valved shock tune, which is obviously modified for the e-bike application. It is a DPX2 shock. Overall, that shock has got a great tune that will accommodate a wide variety of riders. We've definitely bumped up the volume reducer because we were blowing through some travel, and even with that more aggressive Switchblade valving, we found that once we went to that larger volume reducer, it gave us the progression that we wanted and the platform to push off that really made it nice for a more aggressive or heavier rider. Up front, we've got the 160 mil Fox 38 Grip 2 Evol eMTB tuned fork, and we've been definitely impressed with that. So that early prototype obviously wasn't full factory and finalized. We did have some issues along the way. We worked with Chris closely, and one of the issues that we were having was on some kind of weirder step down drops. We were having the rear tire contact the seat tube a little bit. We came to find out that the tires that were on that prototype weren't the factory spec'd tires. They were, about 8 millimeters larger in diameter than what would be shipped with stock. We also found that they didn't have the correct shock yet, so the stroke was about 5 millimeters too long. So Chris and his team have said that they are not able to replicate that issue that we have been having on any of their test bikes, in their computer models, renderings, anything like that. So he did tell me to rest assured, if a consumer does have that issue, that leads to any sort of a warranty claim or problem, they will stand behind their product and work with that consumer to make them happy. Getting into the geo of this bike, it is a pretty capable, comfortable bike. It is a 74-degree seat tube angle with a 64.3-degree head tube angle. This bike has a 460mm reach, 441 chain stays, and a 630mm stack height. Based on a lot of the feedback, I guess, that Chris had been getting from their European consumers, they had been asking for more steer tube spacers. So rather than just add a ton of spacers, they've actually made the head tube a little bit taller on the bike. With our proto bike, we kind of ran it down into what's more comfortable for us in our riding style. Since we got this with such short notice before the launch, we left it in what I guess is the Euro spec and wanted to see if there was something to this high front end thing. It's definitely a weird feeling. Obviously, we still have a lot of room to drop that front end, which we're probably gonna do unless this wins us over. But those of you who maybe have back issues, spend a lot of time out on long rides, you will probably be happy at the extra height in the head tube there and having a little bit more of an upright feel. It really kind of fit that middle zone nicely. I think a lot of bikes are just getting too aggressive, too long, and especially when you get that added weight that e-bikes naturally bring, it just makes them a lot more cumbersome to ride, a lot less fun. So by having a little bit shorter of a bike, you still have a little more control over it. You can manual it, you can snap it around corners. So we're not mad at that 460 reach. I think it's a pretty nice balance of being comfortable, confident, and playful. During our testing period on the prototype bike, as we said, we had to do a bit of tuning with that shock, and is not a big deal, and I think is pretty standard for heavier or aggressive riders. It's just something that they kind of take in part with riding bikes that are built for a broad spectrum of riders. So we had a lot of different skilled level riders out on that prototype bike. We had our cameraman out with his pack pedaling this thing around. The finalized production version didn't show up until just recently, so although the differences are very minor, if any, we really want to spend some time on this actual production bike before we kind of give our official word. But so far, we've had a lot of fun on both the prototype and production versions of the shuttle.
Get some jumps on for the more detail rider for it. I think that's one thing this area doesn't offer is, just some nice groomed jumps, but just some of the trail side playfulness, like the one we just did up there, being able to pop and just commit into a corner. It's I wouldn't say it's very playful, but it is, you can maneuver it around, you can pop.
Yeah.
And I think maybe even playing with some higher pressure, if we were going to go do some jumps to actually figure out, what does it feel like in the air? I mean, it's a big bike. So
absolutely.
That's something I'd like to do.
We like the added power. We love the added range. We like the fact that you can easily remove this battery to charge it or put in a smaller, lighter one for kind of local after work rides. Updated geo, the shock tune is good. A solid bike all around. This is the XTR Team Edition bike. It retails for $10,999. Certainly there are going to be some people that have issue with that, but it is the top of the line full XTR spec bike. There are going to be some other versions available that are going to be a little more price friendly. That in a pretty big detailed nutshell is the new Pivot Shuttle. Stay tuned for our long-term review. We're going to keep putting a ton of miles on this bike. It's a lot of fun, and we want to see how it holds up to a nice Oregon winter. Go check out your local shop, give one a test ride. Definitely worth a look if you're in the market for a 140 to 160 level e-bike, and have fun. We'll see you out on the trails.